Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking artificial sweeteners. Are they bad for you? Are they okay for you? I have a lot to talk about. I'm going to talk about what exactly they are chemically. I'm going to talk about the different sides to people's opinions about them. So if you guys are ready, we're going to jump right into this subject, and also happy 2019. Okay, so let's set a scene. Let's say you are in America and you went to a fast food place or a coffee shop and you think to yourself, okay, let me order a diet soda. So you order a Diet Coke, and let's actually break down what is in a Diet Coke. So back in the day, if you ordered a Diet Coke, it would have been sweetened with something called aspartame. So for example, if you went into that coffee shop and you got a coffee but you wanted to sweeten it with a 0-calorie sweetener, the same thing you would use is the blue packet, and it would say equal on it. So those two, the same thing, aspartame. So there was a study done where this specific researcher had used rats to try to test these artificial sweeteners. So some other examples of artificial sweeteners are Sweet and Low, NutraSweet, Equal. So Splenda usually comes in the yellow pack, you have Equal, that's the blue pack, and then you have Sweet and Low, which is the pink pack. So the pink packet is saccharin, so Sweet and Low is saccharin. These are just it's like kind of sort of chemical names of these artificial sweeteners. So then you have the blue one, which is Equal, which is aspartame, and then you have the yellow one, which is Splenda, which is sucralose. So basically all of these were man-made, and if you look up the history of these artificial sweeteners, okay, so this is gonna gross some of you guys out. So the very first artificial sweetener was found by a researcher from Johns Hopkins University, and he was actually trying to find a coal tar derivative. So he ends up making something called saccharin. So for some reason, this researcher tasted many things that he created in his lab. So after tasting that, he realized it was extremely sweet. So saccharin's around 300 times sweeter than white refined sugar. Okay, so back to the rats. So basically I'm gonna do one counter argument. So I listen to a lot of podcasts and I try to listen to researchers and doctors talking about different subjects out there. So the people that I was listening to were actually okay with artificial sweeteners, and here's their argument. Okay, so we're going to be talking about a podcast that I used to listen to called Sound Bites. I'm not really listening to them anymore because I'm not sure I trust them completely, and I'm going to get into who I do trust later on. So in the episode 102, they had a doctor come on and talk about stevia. Out of respect, I don't want to mispronounce his last name, but he is Dr. Keith, and his last name starts with an A. So if you look up Soundbites and you want to personally listen to this, go ahead. So basically, in this podcast, they were talking about the history of artificial sweeteners, and they were talking about the rats. So finally, I'm going to get back to you guys on the rats. So they were talking about this researcher, and this guy had found that there was a link between artificial sweeteners and cancer using a study on rats. So basically, he used a controlled study. Some of the rats were on the artificial sweeteners and some were not. And so the ones that were, he said that they developed tumors later in their life. So people debunked this research because the specific breed of rats that this researcher had used are prone to getting tumors later in life. So basically they were trying to say that this research was a little bit rigged, it wasn't completely true. So as far as the research that's currently out there, there's not a whole lot that points it directly to cancers. But I will point out that artificial sweeteners are relatively new, so we don't have direct correlations, and unless that there is a controlled study done with people, but there's probably not going to be because researchers don't like putting people in danger. So that's one argument for artificial sweeteners. However, someone I very, very trust is a doctor named Dr. Josh Axe. I trust him because he does a lot of work related to leaky gut, and if you know anything about me, this whole channel is about eczema and healing leaky gut and healing eczema naturally, and doing so through the form of healing leaky gut. So I'm currently reading one of his books called Eat Dirt. It's a great book, you should read it. In there he makes a claim about artificial sweeteners. He basically acknowledges that the research isn't really out there to prove the links between artificial sweeteners and cancers, but we all have to acknowledge that it is man-made. So if you're looking to heal leaky gut, be on a clean diet, artificial sweeteners are not for you. Artificial sweeteners are exactly what they sound like. They're artificial, meaning they're man-made, they do not come in nature. And I'm not making the claim that all things found in nature are good for people, because obviously there's a lot of natural poisons out there, but you don't exactly want to be consuming something that was a coal tar derivative. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. I personally do not use artificial sweeteners. If I want to use a lower calorie sweetener, stevia is okay. Stevia comes from a plant. I also like monk fruit, and so they're all a lot lower in calories and they don't spike your glucose levels, so it can be kind of nice to bake with. So you can decrease the amount of sugar that you're using. So if you're baking, you can kind of like, I don't know the exact conversion rates, but you can use a lot less sugar in your baking if you use a little bit of stevia or monk fruit. I also like to use date sugar, but date sugar is calorically dense. So Dr. Axe makes a great point in his book Eat Dirt. He basically says that if you're trying to heal leaky gut and create a balanced environment in your body, putting those toxins that literally don't get metabolized whatsoever into your body does in fact wreak havoc on your gut. So to wrap everything up, what I suggest for you guys to do is, if you're out and about, avoid anything diet. You guys really shouldn't be drinking sodas to begin with. Sodas are extremely sugary, and even if they're diet, they're then full of artificial sweeteners. Instead, opt for drinks that are sweetened with stevia or monk fruit. Or if you feel like you're not going to find any of that out and about, what you can do is they actually sell little packets of stevia. So you want to make sure when you're looking for stevia that the ingredients say stevia and it doesn't say stevia and erythritol, which is basically another artificial sweetener. So they actually carry some that are in these tiny little packets, and while that's not exactly environmentally friendly, it may be easier for you. If I wanted to do that, I have a shaker of stevia in my cabinet, so I could always just like hide that in my purse or something. But if you're a guy, you can always just store like a little packet in your jacket pocket. You can take that to work, or you can go out and do it and sweeten things your way, and try to do it in the healthiest way that we currently know with the current research out there today. So if things change and they find out that it's perfectly fine, y'all can use it. I still probably will be opting for something a little bit more natural like monk fruit. So that wraps up this video. I hope this was interesting to you guys. I know that there's a lot of things floating around the internet all the time, but you want to try to look and listen to multiple sources so that you can come up with who is the most credible to you. So for me, I like to listen to Dr. Josh Axe, and you can look him up online. He has a fantastic website. I also like to listen to Stephen Gundry, but I will say that he has a more extreme approach to his diets. I read his book, The Plant Paradox, and he's definitely on the more extreme side. I also really respect the author of The Longevity Diet. His name is Walter Longo. And so these guys are people that I trust in the industry. So you kind of have to do your research, figure out who you trust and who you don't. I like listening to Dr. Gundry's podcast and the Ultimate Health Podcast. It is hosted by two people who are from Canada. So those are what I like to listen to. So if you liked this video, give this video a thumbs up and let me know that you liked it so I can make more health related content, because as you guys know, I mostly talk about eczema.
crashing waves, but I wanna see them at first light.